Section 76. Janamejaya said, O thou of the wealth of asceticism, tell me how our ancestor Yayati, who is the 10th from Prajapati, obtained for a wife that unobtainable daughter of Shukra. I desire to hear of it in detail. Tell me also, one after another, of those monarchs separately who were the founders of dynasties. Vaisampayana said, the monarch Yayati, who was in splendor like unto Indra himself. I will tell thee in reply to the question, O Janamejaya, how both Shukra and Vrishaparvan bestowed upon him with due rights their daughters, and how his union took place with Devayani in special. Between the celestials and asuras, there happened of yore frequent encounters for the sovereignty of the three worlds with everything in them. The gods then, from desire of victory, installed the son of Angiras, Vrihaspati, as their priest to conduct their sacrifices, while their opponents installed the learned Usanas as their priest for the same purpose. And between those two Brahmins there are always much boastful rivalry. Those Danavas assembled for encounter that were slain by the gods were all revived by the seer Shukra, by the power of his knowledge. And then, starting again into life, these fought with the gods. The Asuras also slew on the field of battle many of the celestials, but the open-minded Vrihaspati could not revive them, because he knew not the science called Sanjivani, or revivification, which Kavya, endued with great energy, knew so well. And the gods were, therefore, in great sorrow, and the gods in great anxiety of heart, and entertaining a fear of the learned Usanas, then went to Kacha, the eldest son of Vrihaspati, and spoke unto him, saying, We pay court to thee. Be kind to us, and do us a service that we regard as very great. That knowledge which resides in Shukra, that Brahmana of immeasurable prowess, make thy own as soon as thou canst. Thou shalt find the Brahmana in the court of Vrishaparvan. He always protects the Danavas, but never us, their opponents. Thou art his junior in age, and therefore capable of adoring him with reverence. Thou canst also adore Devayani, that favourite daughter of that high-souled Brahmana. Indeed, thou alone art capable of propitiating them both by worship. There is none else that can do so. By gratifying Devayani with thy conduct, liberality, sweetness, and general behaviour, thou canst certainly obtain that knowledge. The son of Vrihaspati, thus solicited by the gods, said, So be it, and went to where Vrishaparvan was. Kacha, thus sent by the gods, soon went to the capital of the chief of the Asuras, and beheld Shukra there. And beholding him, he thus spoke unto him, Accept me as thy disciple. I am the grandson of the Rishi Angiras, and the son of Vrihaspati. By name I am known as Kacha. Thyself becoming my preceptor, I shall practice the brahmacharya mode of life for 1,000 years. Command me then, O Brahmana. Shukra, hearing this, said, Welcome thou art, O Kacha. I accept thy speech. I will treat thee with regard, for by doing so, it is Vrihaspati who will be regarded. Vaisampayana continued. Kacha, commanded by Kavya and Usanas himself, called also Shukra, and then said, So be it, and took the vow that he had spoken of. And, O Bharat, accepting the vow of which he had spoken at the proper time, Kacha began to conciliate regardfully both his preceptor and his daughter Devayani. Indeed, he began to conciliate both, and as he was young, by singing and dancing and playing on different kinds of instruments, he soon gratified Devayani, who was herself in her youth. And O Bharat, with his whole heart set upon it, he soon gratified the maiden Devayani, who was then a young lady, by presents of flowers and fruits, and services rendered with alacrity. And Devayani also, with her songs and sweetness of manners used, while they were alone, to attend upon the youth carrying out his vow. And when 500 years had thus passed of the Kacha's vow, the Danavas came to learn his intention. And having no compunction about slaying a Brahmana, they became very angry with him. And one day they saw Kacha in a solitary part of the woods, engaged in tending his preceptor's kine. They then slew Kacha from hatred of Brihaspati, and also from their desire of protecting the knowledge of reviving the dead from being conveyed by him. And having slain him, they hacked his body into pieces and gave them to be devoured by jackals and wolves. And when twilight came, the kine returned to that fold without him who attended them. And Devayani, seeing the kine returned from the woods without Kacha, spoke, O Bharat, unto her father thus: Thy evening fire hath been kindled, the sun also hath set, O father. The kine have returned without him who tendeth them. Kacha is, indeed, not to be seen. It is plain that Kacha hath been lost or is dead. Truly do I say, O father, that without him I will not live. Shukra, hearing this, said, I will revive him by saying, Let this one come. Then, having recourse to the science of reviving the dead, Shukra summoned Kacha, and summoned by his preceptor, Kacha appeared before him in the gladness of heart, tearing by virtue of his preceptor's science the bodies of the wolves that had devoured him. And asked about the cause of his delay, he thus spoke unto Bhargava's daughter. Indeed, asked by the Brahman's daughter, he told her, I was dead, O thou of pure manners, burdened with sacrificial fuel, kusha grass, and logs of wood. I was coming towards our abode. I sat under a banyan tree. The kine also, having been brought together, were staying under the shade of that same banyan tree. The Asuras, beholding me, asked, Who art thou? They heard me answer, I am the son of Brihaspati. As soon as I said this, the Danavas slew me, and hacking my body into pieces, they gave my remains to jackals and wolves. And they then went home in the gladness of heart. O amiable one, summoned by the high-souled Bhargava, I, after all, come before thee fully revived. On another occasion, asked by Devayani, the Brahmana Kacha went into the woods, and as he was roving about for gathering flowers, the Danavas beheld him. They again slew him, and pounding him into a paste, they mixed it with the water of the ocean. Finding him long gone in coming, the maiden again represented the matter unto her father. And summoned again by the Brahmana with the aid of his science, Kacha, appearing before his preceptor and his daughter, told everything as it had happened. Then, slaying him for the third time, and burning him and reducing him to ashes, the Asura gave those ashes to the preceptor himself, mixing them with his wine. And Devayani again spoke unto her father, saying, O father, Kacha was sent to gather flowers, but he is not to be seen. It is plain that he hath been lost or has died. I tell thee truly, I will not live without him. Shukra, hearing this, said, O daughter, the son of Brihaspati hath gone to the region of the dead. Though revived by my science, he is thus slain frequently. What indeed am I to do? O Devayani, do not grieve, do not cry. One like thee should not grieve for one that is mortal. Thou art indeed, O daughter, in the consequence of my prowess, worshipped thrice a day during the ordained hours of prayer, by Brahmanas, the gods with Indra, the Vasus, the Ashwins, the Asuras, in fact, by the whole universe. It is impossible to keep him alive, for revived by me he is often killed. To all this Devayani replied, Why shall I, O father, not grieve for him whose grandfather is old Angiras himself, whose father is Vrihaspati, who is an ocean of ascetic merit, who is the grandson of a rishi and also the son of a rishi. He himself too was a brahmacharin and an ascetic, always wakeful and skilled in everything. I will starve and follow the way Kacha has gone. The handsome Kacha is, O father, dear unto me. Vaisampayana continued. The great rishi Kavya then, afflicted by what Devayani said, cried in anger, Certainly the Asuras seek to injure me, for they slay my disciple that stayeth with me. These followers of Rudra desire to divest me of my character as a Brahmana, by making me participate in their crime. Truly, this crime hath a terrible end. The crime of slaying a Brahmana would even burn Indra himself. Having said this, the Brahmana Shukra, urged by Devayani, began to summon Kacha, who had entered the jaws of death. But Kacha, summoned with the aid of science and afraid of the consequence to his preceptor, feebly replied from within the stomach of his preceptor, saying, Be graceful unto me, O Lord. I am Kacha that worshippeth thee. Behave unto me as thy own dearly loved son. Vaisampayana continued. Shukra then said, By what path, O Brahmana, hast thou entered my stomach, where thou stayest now? Leaving the Asuras this very moment, I shall go over to the gods. Kacha replied, By thy grace, memory hath not failed me. Indeed, I do recollect everything as it hath happened. My ascetic virtues have not been destroyed. It is therefore that I am able to bear this almost insufferable pain. O Kavya, slain by the Asuras and burnt and reduced to powder, I have been given to thee with thy wine. When thou art present, O Brahmana, the art of the Asuras will never be able to vanquish the science of a Brahmana. Hearing this, Shukra said, O daughter, what good can I do to thee? It is with my death that Kacha can get back his life. O Devayani, Kacha is even within me. There is no other way of his coming out except by ripping open my stomach. Devayani replied, Both evils shall, like fire, burn me. The death of Kacha and the death of thy own, are the same to me. The death of Kacha would deprive me of life. If thou also diest, I shall not be able to bear my life. Then Shukra said, O son of Vrihaspati, thou art indeed one already crowned with success, because Devayani regards thee so well. Accept the science that I will today impart to thee, if indeed thou be not Indra in the form of Kacha. None can come out of my stomach with life. A Brahmana, however, must not be slain therefore. Accept thou the science I impart to thee. Start thou into life as my son, and possessed of the knowledge received from me, and revived by me, take care that, on coming out of my body, thou dost act gracefully. Vaisampayana continued. Receiving the science imparted to him by his preceptor, the handsome Kacha ripped open his stomach, came out like the moon at evening on the 15th day of the bright fourth night, and beholding the remains of his preceptor lying like a heap of penances, Kacha revived him, aided by the science he had learned. Worshipping him with regard, Kacha said unto his preceptor, Him who poureth the knowledge of nectar into one's ears, even as thou hast done into those of myself, who was void of knowledge, him do I regard both as my father and mother. And remembering the immense service done by him, who is there so ungrateful as to injure him? They that, having acquired knowledge, injure their preceptor, who is always an object of worship, who is the giver of knowledge, who is the most precious of all precious objects on earth, come to be hated on earth, and finally go to the regions of the sinful. Vaisampayana continued. The learned Shukra, having been deceived while under the influence of wine, and remembering the total loss of consciousness that is one of terrible consequences of drink, and beholding too before him the handsome Kacha, whom he had in a state of unconsciousness, drunk with his wine, then thought of effecting a reform in the manners of Brahmanas. The high-souled Usanas, rising up from the ground in anger, then spoke as follows. The wretched Brahmana, who from this day, unable to resist the temptation, will drink wine, shall be regarded as having lost his virtue, shall be reckoned to have committed the sin of slaying a Brahmana, shall be hated both in this and the other worlds. I set this limit to the conduct and dignity of Brahmanas everywhere. Let the honest, let Brahmanas, let those with regard for their superiors, let the gods, let the three worlds listen. Having said these words, that high-souled one, that ascetic of ascetics, then summoned the Danavas who had been deprived by fate of the good sense, told them these words. Ye foolish Danavas, know ye that Kacha hath obtained his wishes. He will henceforth dwell with me, having obtained the valuable knowledge of reviving the dead, that Brahmana hath indeed become in prowess even as Brahman himself. Vaisampayana continued. Bhargava, having said so much, cut short his speech. The Danavas were surprised and went away to their homes. Kacha too, having stayed with his preceptor for a full 1,000 years, then prepared to return to the abode of the celestials, after having obtained his preceptor's permission. Section 77. Vaisampayana said, after the expiry of the period of his vow, Kacha, having obtained his preceptor's leave, was about to return to the abode of the celestials, when Devayani, addressing him, said, O grandson of the Rishi Angiras, in conduct and birth, in learning, asceticism, and humility, thou shinest most brightly. As the celebrated Rishi Angiras is honored and regarded by my father, so is thy father regarded and worshipped by me. O thou of ascetic wealth, Knowing this, listen to what I say. Recollect my conduct towards thee during the period of thy vow of brahmacharya. Thy vow hath now been over. It behoveth thee to fix thy affections on me. Oh, accept my hand duly with ordained mantras. Kacha replied, Thou art to me an object of regard and worship, even as thy father. O thou of faultless features, thou art indeed even an object of greater reverence. Thou art dearer than life to the high-souled Bhargava. O amiable one, as the daughter of my preceptor, thou art ever worthy of my worship. As my preceptor Shukra, thy father is ever deserving of my regards, so art thou, O Devayani. Therefore it behoveth thee not to say so. Hearing this, Devayani replied, Thou too art the son of my father's preceptor's son. Therefore, O best of Brahmanas, thou art deserving of my regards and worship. O Kacha, when thou wert slain so many times by the Asuras, recollect today the affection that I show thee. Remembering my friendship and affection for thee, and indeed my devoted regard also, O virtuous one, it behoveth thee not to abandon me without any fault. I am truly devoted to thee. Hearing all this, Kacha said, O thou of virtuous vows, do not urge me into such a sinful course. O thou of fair eyebrows, be gracious unto me. Beautiful one, thou art to me an object of greater regard than my preceptor. Full of virtuous resolves, O large-eyed one, of face as handsome as moon, the place where thou hast resided, the body of Kavya, hath also been my abode. Thou art truly my sister. Amiable one, happily have we passed the days that we have been together. There is perfect good understanding between us. I ask thy leave to return to my abode. Therefore, bless me so that my journey may be safe. I must be remembered by thee when thou recallest me in connection with topics of conversation as one that hath not transgressed virtue. Always attend upon my preceptor with readiness and singleness of heart. To all this, Devayani answered, solicited by me, if indeed thou truly refuseth to maketh me thy wife, O Kacha, this thy knowledge shall not bear fruit. Hearing this, Kacha said, I have refused thy request only because thou art the daughter of my preceptor, and not because thou hast any fault. Nor hath my preceptor in this respect issued any command. Curse me if it please thee. I have told thee what the behavior should be of a rishi. I do not deserve thy curse, O Devayani, but yet thou hast cursed me. Thou hast acted under the influence of passion, and not from a sense of duty. Therefore, thy desire will not be fulfilled. No rishi's son shall ever accept thy hand in marriage. Thou hast said that my knowledge shall not bear fruit. Let it be so. But in respect of him it shall bear fruit to whom I may impart it. Vaisampayana said, the first of Brahmanas, Kacha, having said so unto Devayani, speedily wended his way into the abode of the chief of the Celestials. Beholding him arrived, the Celestials with Indra ahead, having worshipped him, spoke unto him as follows. Thou hast indeed performed an act of great benefit for us. Wonderful hath been thy achievement. Thy fame shall never die. thou shalt be a sharer with us in sacrificial offerings. Hare Krishna.